Hey there, hi there. Before we start, let's get into this a little bit here. This review was made possible by inToit Reviews for being a total Chad, and letting me hold on to his TFZ No.3s for, honestly, an unreasonable amount of time. Several months? Maybe more. So, yeah. Go check out his review on these also. I'll try and find a link for those somewhere and provide them in the description below, because he's probably going to have a more sound review than me, because yeah, you'll understand. Also, the other part of this review was sponsored, God, I wish. It was made possible, is the correct legalese, by Hi-Fi Go. One of the representatives from Hi-Fi Go contacted me, as well as many other people, and helped me get the KS2 for a very, 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 very low price of very little. Also, I fucked up a little bit in the video. I completely misremembered the price for the KS2. The price for the KS2, I mean, even on Amazon, is $25. You could get it from AliExpress, from Hi-Fi Go, possibly, I think. I'm not sure. They might still be working on that site. Anyway, I digress. When I mention the price, just understand that I am very, 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 very wrong. It's like half of what I was saying. It's $25. That instantly elevates everything that I say about it to a much more favorable thing. Whatever I'm saying, take the negatives that I'm applying to it in terms of the value proposition, and understand that that's kind of null and void based on the fact that I remembered the price wrong and I didn't do my due diligence. I know, bad me, I'm sorry. And it's actually just a lot cheaper, so that brings up the value significantly. So please keep that in mind. Yep, sorry. Okay, so on to the thing. Oh boy, here we go. This is going to be a Demi review. You know what? Hold please. There we go. Trying a kind of sort of new idea trick thing. Oops, stop wiggling, please. How the fuck did you get that? I gotta turn on my dark voice. Yeah, fun fact, dark voice, it also acts as a tube pre. Yeah. The RCA outs are tube buffered, and the volume pots, you could use it to adjust what's going on. So, yeah, kind of nifty. Okay, alright, I'll probably skip over some of that. Thank you, Matt, by the way, for the music that you told me I could use. I really greatly appreciate it. So if you hear any stuttering in the background, that's my fault. I've been fucking with the settings, got a new cell phone, the LG V60. There are problems. There are most definitely problems, but there are most definitely wonderful things about them. Anyway, we're not here to review that. As you see in the title, this is the Demi review, and I gotta digress real quick because I'm looking at the screen and this really doesn't look amazing. So my next video might be a lot darker, and I might try to artificially up the gamma or something. I don't know. Oh my god, this looks so washed out, and I'm so pissed. Nope, just gonna trudge forward. Just gonna trudge forward. Okay. Gotta get a real camera. Okay. This is a Demi review of two different linear monitors. Part of the review was made possible by Linsol by allowing me to more easily purchase things like this DUW02 Dunu silver-plated Ono continuous casting, or OCC, monocrystalline copper Litz cable. $80. I'll tell you right now, yes, in my opinion, 100% worth it, not just because of all the fancy shit, but because interconnect changing $80 for the price of what is effectively going to be like like $100 for like the price of two different cables. Or no, price of one cable and an interconnect, $100. you can get so much more value. The interconnects are $20. It comes with a 3.5. You can do a 4.4, 2.5, 3.5, 3.5 Pro, which is balanced, and it do a good job. So, yes, I listened to both of these almost nonstop on this cable when I got it in. Otherwise, I used a silver or copper equivalent. I preferred silver. If you don't hear a difference in cables, ignore that segment. Doesn't matter to you because you don't notice. Don't give a shit. I do, and for those that care and want to know my opinions, there is my opinion. Stop wobble, stop wobble, stop wobble, stop wobble, stop wobble, stop wobble, sweet. Now, for those of you that want to know what these sound like, we're going to get into that. I don't normally do this, but I use a little bit of everything in my chains. Desktop, my cell phone, multiple Bluetooth damps, DAC amp combos. I use a lot of different shit. A slew of different shit. These were almost always ran on a balanced connection just because I enjoy the extra voltage going to these because, believe it or not, a lot of drivers actually appreciate additional voltage. Additional voltage is good voltage when it's not done too much, when it doesn't fuck with the OI. Balance just kind of offers me more. It offers a sound that I like, that I believe feels more full. It's not just full. It's not just a gimmick to me, it just sounds fuller. It sounds more filled out. It sounds more, in a good way, viscous or meaty. Even when it's thin, it's more viscous, it's more meaty, it's more lively. There's just something to it, and it's not just a volume thing. In fact, the Q-Lix 5K lowers the volume curve a little bit when you switch from high gain to when you switch from low gain to high gain, believe it or not. And it's just the additional voltage sounds delightful to me. I enjoy it, so that's why I do that. That is not to say that these sound bad single-ended at all. No, these are perfectly fine. I know I'm breaking the scheme of things a little bit, but there's going to be... This is just a Demi review. These things aren't going to get a full Farsil treatment. Now, you may have noticed I don't talk about certain things. The feel of the cable. Microphonics of the cable. Fit. Comfort. So you can easily assume if I don't talk about something, it either A, doesn't bother me, and I don't feel it's worth specifically mentioning, or it's par for the course. If it's excellent, I make a mention of it. If it is bad, I make a mention of it. Here's the bad moment. These fit like shit. For me. And for a very small, selective amount of people, as it would seem. inToit really likes these, and I can see why he likes these. I appreciate these as well. But he has met a small slew of people who have, in the end, said, yeah, no, these fit kind of like shit, and these don't sound all that amazing. So I think it's just for some ear types, and it seems to be in the minority, it seems to be in the minority of people that these don't agree with. I happen to be in that particular group. They're either the tips that I use that do make them okay to wear, set them so far out of my ear canal that they feel like they could wobble out at any point in time, and I hate that sensation. I have no way of putting them in so far that it no longer is painful because some part of this chunky boy fucking becomes painful. And either it's too far in, or if it's in the sweet spot in terms of depth, to make the sound not as bitey, harshy, not so fun, then it fits like shit. If it doesn't fit like shit, then the sound is... This is just not for me. So I'm going to try to review these as best as I can, but it's not going to be very good. The KS2s. They're pretty fair for $30. I gotta agree with the overall sentiment that inToit said is it's basically car audio, or the car audio section of an electronics store in an in-ear monitor. If you don't know what that sounds like, go to your local electronics store that sells car audio, including subwoofers, and turn them on. You'll get the idea really quickly. There we go. 10 minutes in, go, no go. For $30, there are technically better, but the KS2, if you wanted to know if the TFZ No.3 were up your alley and even remotely worth your time, $30 is not bad for something that is belligerently aimed at pop, rock, parts of hip-hop, some basic mainstream metal, some types of electronica, EDM, so on and so forth, but mostly pop, rock, and that sort of genres. Yeah, they pretty much hit that desired target. For $30, it's good. Is it audiophile? It's better than Beats. I mean, that's a really low bar. I mean, I know they're getting better, but for me, that's a relativistically low bar. So yeah, these kind of get the kind of sort of, yeah, they're not bad go if you really want to understand what the TFZ No.3 are, but you don't have the money for the TFZ No.3, but you want to get really close. These are surprisingly close, actually. More so than the QKZ VK4, because the VK4 is not remotely fucking close to these. In any way, shape, or in any reasonable way, shape, or reasonable form. These are actually much closer, and they fit a lot better for me, even though the diameter of the nozzle is about the same. Somehow they're just more comfy. Not quite recessed, but not quite jutted pin for the 2-pin. So, yeah, they get a tentative, go. There's some caveats to it. It has a place, but it's nothing to step out of the... Make a... Doggo is resting. It's nothing to really go out of your way for. The TFZ No.3, go, no, go. If you can demo these, by all means, demo these. Otherwise, buy them from a place where you know you can return them in case they hurt you. You know, like, because they're just chunky. If you can, they are a go. These, even though this is only getting a Demi review, these are actually really quite good. But they only get a Demi review because I just cannot feasibly enjoy them. I've been putting this review off for a long time. So I sweetened the deal with myself and made it a Demi review and chucked two things together that I've been needing to get done really badly. But the go, no, go, effectively, yes. If you know these are going to fit, if you know these are comfy, if you know you like the sound signature of basically V, but tasteful and actually well done, yes, these indubitably, wholeheartedly get a go. So we're just going to back-to-back these. We'll go with the No.3 and the justification for the KS2. And we're going to turn down the music just a little bit, just because I want to be able to hear myself think a little bit better. So, TFZ No.3's bass. Not quite bombastic. Not quite, I'm going to leave this in. There might be a weird stitching event. This is, again, a new cell phone. I don't know what the stitching limit is going to be, so I will keep my eye on it, and if I sound like a little tardo, or it stitches together weird, that is why. I'm doing this so I can learn. So I'm going to do my very, very, very best. So, the bass. Not hellishly bombastic. Not the most detailed. It's actually a bit slow. If you are a bass snob, you could call it sloppy. It's not terribly bleedy, but it is a bit sloppy and the details are a bit dithered. It's not quite fast enough. But is it enjoyable? Does it hit just the right levels of bombacity? I don't know if that's a real word. If that's not a real word, congratulations, I made a new word. That's my strategery. But it hits a level of bombacity that is just enjoyable. It's not egregious. It's relativistically tight. So the decay is a pinch slow, but the attack on this is actually quite a bit reasonable. In that you hear the slam, you feel the slam, but where it gets sloppy is when it tries to move back into position is what it feels like. So it's not quite as like I said, the details are dithered. It's missing that little je ne sais quoi, that little something something. Sorry if that accent was bad. I know, I don't do French too good. The Kbear, yeah? Or the Kbear. We're gonna call it Kbear. The Kbear KS2. Oh, I don't see a Stitch notification just yet, so this may do a weirdness here in the next minute or two. I don't know. The Kbear KS2. Bombacity. I believe I had mentioned in the Go No Go breakdown. Yes, they're actually pretty good, and you know what? I'm going to go to the Midnight Remixed 02 from the Midnight, just to play a little something different, because we went through all of the monsters last time. Car audio, the in-ear monitor. Tons of bass. Tons and tons of bass. Lots of bombacity. Definitely a bit bleedy, but it's got a nice little fast attack to it. It responds relatively well, not quite as snippy and snappy as the TFZ No.3. The decay, and this could just be because they're newer, or maybe they are a smaller diaphragm. It does appear to be several millimeters smaller. That was a weird sounding accent. It does appear to be several millimeters smaller. So it could be just physics working with it rather than against it, and it's a bit snappier to get back into place. It doesn't feel... The TFZ No.3 definitely has a better, more detailed bass, but these don't lag super far behind for the fact that they are bombastic as shit. Fun is another really great way of putting it. Definitely V-signature bass all around, but a little bit more unchained, more fun, more drunk, great beater type of sound in terms of the bass hit is something I would take to a gym and just use it, because I don't want to hear details. I just want to be fucking driven. These do that, in my opinion, better than a TFZ No.3, but the TFZ No.3 wants to grab my attention more in the bass region. In the bass region. Tongue-tied. I am so out of practice, can't you tell? I can. I'm gonna have fun editing this shit later. So, that's kind of the base differences, is it's all not entirely super detailed. The No.3 does take the cake when it comes to overall detail of the bass region. The mids. Both are definitely a V signature of some kind or another. The V presents itself much less forward so, or much less noticeably so. Just comparing them directly, of course. In the TFZ No.3, the TFZ No.3 does a very good job of making up for it. The bass does get, the mids do get a bit bled into from the bass, and again, this could just be its age. Could be a bit of the tuning. It could be that the music I listen to is not conducive to it. Could be the other way around, I'm not 100% sure. Again, I could not get a crap ton of airtime with these. I couldn't. They hurt me. They hurt me bad. Okay, not bad. They hurt me. But the mids felt reasonable. There was a sumptuousness, a life, a meatiness, a warmth to them that was relativistically enjoyable. Now, it wasn't, to say, totally warm. That could be the audio artifacts coming from bits of the bass, influencing it to be artificially, air quotes there, more warm than it would otherwise normally be in a less bassy moment. I felt them to be reasonably well accentuated. It, like with the bass, there wasn't a large amount of detail. You're not getting these for detail, but it felt good. Nothing screamed out to me that was horribly tonally wrong with the bass. The mids on the No.3. The KS2, car audio, the in-ear monitor. The bass does feel, last time I listened to it, and these were significantly more comfortable, but the oopsie, sorry. The diameter of the nozzle was a good bit more of a issue for me in this, just because it reached in deeper, versus these shorties that, I don't know, a mix of things that just did not agree with me. But the mids were pretty prototypically recessed. I want to say your normal 10 dB peak valley. Or absolute peak valley, I should say. But it didn't bother me all that much. It wasn't like on the singers or the tapes where it was super duper crazy noticeable. It was noticeable, but it didn't slam me in the face. And this could just be my memory failing me, because I've had a hard time putting these in my ears and wanting to pay attention just because I keep getting distracted. But it was reasonable. I can't tell if there's a weird crossover fucky-wucky going on somewhere, maybe in the middle mids, probably the upper mid range where it starts to interface into the lower treble region with the BA, because this is a dual driver. I know, I forgot to mention that for $30. I think it's 30, maybe 40. It's a dual driver. BA, dynamic. TFZ number 3 is just straight dynamic, just straight up dynamic. So, a little bit of wonky, it's not all that bad. For the money, again, I feel like the vocals don't sit so far behind the mix that I'm struggling to hear them, even with some of grunty death metal or grungy death metal. I feel good enough. I can pull off enough of the syllables that I can feel okay with it, and I can just let it do its thing while I'm doing my thing. The treble on the TFZ number 3. These are brutal. In a good way, and a bad way. In a dichotomistic way. I know, big word, dichotomy. In a dichotomy... I'm leaving that in. So, in a dichotomistic fashion, these are brutality, but finesse and honesty. These are asshole IEMs. They're going to tell you when your mix is relatively shit, but they'll be nice about it. They will be relatively merciless, but they're not going to be dicks. So what does that mean? It means it's definitely bright. Somewhere in the realm of kind of neutralish, warmish bright. It didn't sound cold like a BA's bass could be, nor analytical, but definitely bright, very succinct, very much to the point. If there is sibilance in the mix, you will catch the sibilance. It will let you know it's there. There are ways to roll that, but all in all, the sound itself really wasn't bad. inToit had said that he found it relaxing, and I could see with certain chains, yes, they could be relaxing. They were more relaxing and more rolled on the ESS Saber DACs for my LG V50. The V60 I haven't really used yet because the dual screen case is shit. LG, you need to be spanked, you fucking troglodytes, you morons. I'm going to have to edit some of that out, aren't I? LG, you made a bad case. It's nifty, it's cool, but you people are fucking troglodytes. You don't know what the fuck you're doing when it comes to making a case work properly. God damn, it's just... The phone itself is really good. Right, we're here to talk about in-ear monitors, not the fucking dual screen case for my V60. They're not bad. It feels right. It's got a certain crispness to it. The attack and decay of it feels a lot more succinct, a lot more on point. It's not having to move as much along its X-Max or its excursion as it would for any of the other frequencies. It's snappy, and I like it. On something like the ESS Saber, as I was mentioning now that I recall, it definitely gets more rolled. On a prototypical ESS Saber, lower end sort of ESS Saber sound, yeah, you do indeed hear less of that sharpness. On an AKM, tends to be a bit accentuated. The barrenness of the points where the T and P and S sibilancies or plosiveness come up, mostly S's and a little bit in the T's. Not so much in the P's and for the plosives, more of the S's become more flared out on an AKM. On an ESS Saber, it becomes a bit more stark, not quite as flavorful, so kind of becomes a preference thing from there. The detail retrieval is reasonable in that region. It's surprised me quite a few times with how well it actually can deliver the detail within the treble spectrum for being a single dynamic. Tonally speaking, it doesn't scream out to me stuff is wrong. It doesn't quite sound the way I might prefer, but it doesn't sound wholly wrong. The KS2 is where shit gets kerfuckled. This is where you hear that they cheaped out on the BA and possibly the crossover settings, I don't know. To describe what it sounds like, hi-hats and cymbals sound splashy. Well, what does that mean? Imagine the initial hit, right? Instead of being a nice, tight, terse, it's a bit blunted on the hit, so it's less of a sort of sound and more of a just a sort of sound. You get less of that moment where it's hitting and more of a blunted, I know it's hitting, but it's kind of hard to tell that actual sound. It's not defined in that point. Or I believe hi-hats clap together. I can never remember. I don't play drums. I just listen. You can't hear that moment where there's that micro stutter of them clasping together and sort of rebounding fractions of a millimeter. And just that little instantaneous moment where they're getting smushed together. It's those things that you miss out on, that very initial crisp hit. And you hear just several moments, several very slight dithered milliseconds, fractions of a moment afterwards. And instead of being a nice, pulled together, terse, very uniform sound, it splashes outwards, almost to a sort of a pseudo Hall effect, right? That's the sound. The splashiness is. It's just. Sorry. It does that. It spreads out. Some people might like that. Some people might not. It could be kind of fun. It sounds like a relatively inexpensive tweeter in a car system. Are you catching on yet, kids? Good. I knew you were smart. Detail retrieval would be almost reasonable, except for the splashiness kind of muddies up that region on a really busy metal, and stuff that isn't busy metal, it can kind of sort of accentuate it. It's not that it's a bad armature, I don't think. It's certainly not the best. It's just not dampened well enough to my preference or from the way the details sound that it's throwing off the mix. Tonally, it sounds a bit... I did say it sounded a bit splashy, and I know that doesn't really go into the tone, but the way I perceive it, that for me, that's a tonal thing. It sounds off. It doesn't sound right. The decay's wonky. The attack is not quite sharp and fast enough. Something does reach out and say it's a bit wrong on the way the tone, like a digital tone, might sound. It's not quite right. I don't know, it's just something is off. It's not bad. For the $30 to $40 for a beater set, are there better beaters out there? Yes, most definitely. I would argue this might sound better than most of those other beaters that you would be willing to use as beaters. But if you're trying to save your pennies, No. Yeah, I know. Perspective's a bitch, isn't it? Earlier I said that these are okay for like workout IEMs, but on further thought, there might be a better value, but I guess it all just depends on your perspective on how much is beater money to you. For comparatively speaking to the shit that I've spent, even $100 is beater money now. I know, fucking 100? A bill of Benji? Is tosser money? God damn. Never thought I'd get that way in life. But, the treble, it's not horrid. It's meant for the genre it's meant for. That's it. It's nothing fantastic. Don't go out of your way to get it. If you have the spare money and you want a TFZ-like experience, a TFZ No.3-like experience in the form of beaters, that's where this suddenly starts to make more sense, especially in the treble region, being wonky as it is. Stage on the TFZ No.3, this is part of why I could not bear to listen to them for a very long amount of time, is they have this weird spherical thing they do, kind of what a Focal does, and I get less of that, and that could be because the fit is poor. It could be because it could be because of the way my ear canals are, that these are just almost wholly incompatible with my physiology. Because I don't get the weird spherical thing. I do, but not in the way inToit described it, and so far he's not really let me down. We don't fully agree on everything, but when it comes to headphones, we typically mash together really quite tightly, but he and I seem to have similar hearing when it comes to in-ear monitors for the most part. What these gave me, and this is the problem I have with these, and this kind of ties into the treble spectrum bit that I didn't mention, because I forgot. Claustrophobia. I get a very mild sense of claustrophobia. Will you get that? I don't know. I am used to a rather airy, if not somewhat open sounding sound. These don't give that to me at all. They're very closed in. They're very... The only word I can use that makes sense is they give me a sense of claustrophobia. And I don't enjoy it. I don't utterly hate it because it's not full on, oh my god! It's not full on knock shit around, I'm freaking out, game over, man, game over levels of claustrophobia. It's just a sensation of claustrophobics that claustrophobics, did I make another new word? Of claustrophobia, that just... These things rub me the wrong way in that sense, and that's part of why I cannot get behind it. They don't work. Not for me. They don't sound horrible, but these are not my in-ear monitors. The KS2 actually, ironically, have a more airy-ish, open-ish sound. They don't give me a full sense of claustrophobia. Don't know why, but they just don't. They don't give me that immediate... I'm choking, game over, man, come on, breathe, can't breathe. I mean, it could be the splashiness. It gives me that pseudo sense of a more open sound. I'm going to switch the Midnight Nocturnal album. The remixes are just a little too aggressive for me right now. And my throat is killing me. This is actually kind of difficult. The stage on these feel a little bit more... fractionally larger, and I think it's more of virtually larger, and I know it's creating a virtual soundstage regardless of that fact. It's just... it's... the way the sound is being presented to me is less offensive and less of a do not like... What the fuck just happened? Alright, figured it out. It's... because it's not as closed in, maybe I'm more accepting of it, but the stage is not wide by any real marketable measure. It can fool you into being slightly wider than these, but the moment you kind of see through the smoke and mirrors, you realize all too soon it's smoke and mirrors. So it's not really a wide stage, but it attempts to fool you at times, in that it is. So if that bothers you, even less of a reason to get them, I suppose. One album's loud as shit, the other album's quiet as hell. Fucking goddamn it, Midnight. The Midnight. I've kind of gone over detail retrieval on these all throughout. They're both reasonably good. Number 3s are definitely better. These are just... well, I really don't need to hammer that in, honestly. Let's see. Imaging, delineation, and quality therein. The TFZ No. 3 are definitely better. that spherical stage, I could get it at times, and the placement felt quite good on it. But the KS2 just was really vague and kind of fuzzy in its presentation of the imaging. You could get a vague idea, but it really wasn't all that good. And that could just be the fact that it could be because of the way that KS2s don't, the No. 3s don't work for me. The KS2s likewise don't work for me in a similar fashion. So I may not be getting all of the proper imaging that it may or may not be able to offer you. But I would say, for the amount that you would pay, you're getting average to below average, maybe a bit below average, is probably closer towards it. This is a Demi review, sorry. But that's really about it. Let's see. Oh, tips for both of these. These will be soon to go back to... oh, that was probably loud. I am so sorry. These will be soon to go back to inToit. I will say he was right. The spiral dot tips from JVC, definitely a lot more open, and gave me less of a sense of claustrophobia now that I think about it. And I did like that sensation more. So, spiral dot tips were nice. E Pro, E as in letter E, Echo. Horn-shaped tips. Oh, man, I guess some of y'all have Echo set up. Epsilon. Yeah, there we go, Epsilon. Horn-shaped tips. These are silicone tips that have been graphene doped and are horn-shaped. They're $13, $14. Absolutely go fucking buy them now. Links in the description below. No, they are not. I make nothing off of them. This is just an honest suggestion. These I really liked because on both, they bolstered the bass, but they also helped with some of the peakiness and the treble and sort of tersed up the splashiness of the KS2, whereas the spiral dot tips opened these up more and made them more splashy on the KS2. On the No. 3s, they made the sibilancy sharper and more noticeable, peakier on a lot of the music that I like to listen to. So, if you wanted a suggestion, E Pro horn-shaped tips. Absolutely a great pairing if you don't care that it squishes the stage, it makes it a bit more narrow, but makes it sort of conical, where there's a bit better layering and depth to it, but it's not quite as wide sounding. If you like a wider sound above all else, the spiral dot tips are significantly better. I would not suggest foams on either of these, nor would I suggest the stock tips on either of these. They are doable, but I would not 100% suggest them. So I really think that's it. Oh god, this was a haphazard ass review and a half, and it's been 40 minutes long. I think that's kind of fair, given it's two separate in-ear monitors that I was reviewing in a half-ass sense, while still trying to maintain some modicum of quality, I guess might be the proper word. I do believe that's it, my beautiful children. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hopefully the music mix wasn't too loud. I think in the next video that I'm just immediately going to hammer into is going to be the video coloring. I'm going to try something different in it, so it may be a little wonky. But that's all we have for today. Have a beautiful morning, a lovely afternoon, and a pleasant evening. May you travel far and wide within the realm of your dreamscape. So long as it leads you back to me, your favorite, the Great Wizard, Farsil. Ready, steady, and poof.